Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. This is your weekly. Now it's like twice a week, but normally this lot is for conversations and discussions with players. We decided we'd have a chat about what's happening this week. But this is your weekly cricketing podcast. We talk all things South African cricket, so please do follow us at the Full Quota Pod just below there on X or Twitter. Also, subscribe to that One World Sports Radio YouTube channel. It is becoming like a podcast platform for different sports. So please do subscribe. If you want to know when we're going live, that is when you would subscribe so you can see us go live. You can comment, you can interact with us as we go along. We're also on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Just search for Full Quota Podcast, which is down there, and you'll find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're getting a bit of traction, so please do share the love. Let us know where you're listening from. If there's any topics you'd like us to talk about, any players you want us to give opinions on, and the like, that would be it. But essentially, today's show is going to just be recapping what's happened this week. But before then, I am not alone. You can see Tim right there. So, Tim, how are you doing?
Despite most of our national teams losing, is
Okay. Okay, Tim. You're all right.
I'm worried because we've got lots to get into. That's all. I'm fine, dude. I'm all right.
Look, national teams lost, but they gave us something to look forward to. I think Bafana yesterday losing to Nigeria in penalties said a lot about where South Africa is from as a sporting nation, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Right, it's an Olympic year, so we're hoping for a really great Olympic year. But I don't understand how people from other countries live, because we get this regularly, this little jolt of adrenaline and success, Tim. And yesterday, our jolt came from the Proteas Women. But what our show is today is largely what happened this week. We're going to go through everything, and then we're going to go through New Zealand versus South Africa Test match to get ourselves. So, with what happened this week, we want to talk about the first thing, the big news of the week in South Africa was the SA under 19 playing the India under 19 team in the semi final of the World Cup. Tim, there was a moment there where we thought, yes, this could be us. The fact that obviously the batting started off not so great, but it picked up towards the end, which was the situation. Top order is great, middle order is a little bit iffy. Richard Silitswani showed us the Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the slow starter, but actually the guy with talent who can actually play cricket and isn't shackled by probably, I'm assuming, team messages. And then it went down obviously to the Juan Jameses. And I don't know who that other kid was, who got our total to 241, 240 odd, which was, you could say, parish for a track like that. And then Gwena Mapaka just igniting us with the first ball wicket, and then after that, getting him and his, what is it, his partner, which was Tristan Lees,
Tristan Lewis.
taking wickets in on the other side, and we had India in trouble, and then they came back, and it's a lot of lessons for that SA under 19 team in terms of killing games off. But how did you make of that game and this SA under 19 team? Because in my head, I thought they were very, very close.
Yeah. Look, they were. So the positives are, I think the majority of that team will go on to play professional cricket, first class cricket, list A cricket, in our domestic setup. I think the majority will, uh, just as long as they choose cricket and they want to continue to play cricket. And I think at least a couple of them, um, as long as the stars align, will go on to play for the Proteas. So the
Yeah.
future is bright. But I have to say it was an opportunity that was there, and it wasn't
Mm,
taken. If you've got an
mm,
opposition, it doesn't matter who it is. If you've got an opposition, 32 for 4, in that situation where we were, 9 times out of 10, you should not be losing that. You should not be
Yeah,
losing that game,
100%.
and we did. We found a way to lose the game, and it was the middle overs. The middle overs. We were worried about the middle overs. We didn't have somebody who could just rein it in, just have a few
Mm.
quiet overs. That was a huge problem. I don't want to go into all of it, but I do think, generally speaking, I don't think the did brilliantly. I think the players individually came out and did well for themselves. I don't think the
Mm.
coaching setup did the right decisions throughout the tournament. I don't think at
Yeah.
any time that the right 11 was picked. From most of the tournament, the 11 that was
Okay.
picked on any given day, to me, was not the right ones.
Okay, let's go into that just a little bit, right? You obviously, a lot of people complaining about the 11 and the like. What would who would you have loved to see in that 11 that didn't play?
So I think on the wickets where you didn't have that bounce that we had against India, I
Mm.
think the spinner should have played a couple of more games.
Oh, Super
Potswani?
Potsane,
Yeah,
yeah.
Potswani. I think he definitely should have
Yes.
played. And he could have played instead of Whitehead. We tried Whitehead at the beginning of the tournament. It didn't work. To me, it was very clear that
Mm.
Whitehead, for whatever reason, I know he's done well at Sachs and probably deserved the selection with him. To me, didn't make much sense. Um, Ditton effectively as a bowling all-rounder, batting so
Mm-hmm.
far down, also didn't make sense. It wasn't necessarily the 11. It was more how that 11 was used. That also just it to me it didn't make sense to me at all. Um, Devon Murray, arguably the best batter of the tournament for the team,
Yes.
also was too low down. He should have been up. When Teague's struggles were obvious, and I firmly believe that it is at the very least in part due to what
Mm.
happened off the field, I think they should have said, okay, it's not working. We're gonna we're gonna rest you for a couple of games, and we're gonna put Murray in there. Put Murray in there. Then you've got Swansea, and then you've got John James, 3, 4, and 5. I think that's a
Yeah.
much better 3, 4, and 5 going forward. They were not, for me, they were not hard decisions being made. Not enough for me. Quality
Yeah.
teams make those tough decisions. I don't think there were enough tough decisions being made throughout the tournament.
But look, it's age group cricket, so you got to give guys a chance, right? But to a certain extent, it might be the last time for many of them playing professional cricket or at this level, at an international level. So I do get the idea of they've earned their spot. And you want to run with them as much as possible because they didn't. The thing with Seletswani and Tiga, but mostly Tiga, was that form was there wasn't there even before he made his comments, right? So throughout the Bangladesh series and coming into India, he just didn't have it, right? So it was a massive worry for the side, and I do agree that maybe a rejig would have happened, should have happened. I kind of feel like, and this is where we're going to talk about with South Africa and New Zealand. Malibunga threw all his batters at the problem. And then he was like, okay, how do I get them out? Oh, I've got Gwen and Tristan, who, funny enough, Tristan wasn't even in the side when the tournament started. He was brought in due to an injury, right? And then you're like, okay, can any of my batters bowl? And then you obviously have John James, and then you have a couple of the other guys there who was largely part timers, George Whitehead and the Whitehead and the like, who aren't necessarily wicket takers and stuff. But the one thing I took from there, Tim, was largely from a batting perspective, aggression helps, and you saw that with India. Obviously, some of the wickets that they lost were due to some incredible fast bowling. But once they actually got in and their captain got in and started playing with that. I think his name is Sachin. Really, really, yeah, his parents really love the one man. They were a lot more aggressive, and when we played our best cricket was when we were aggressive, and it was sad to watch our middle order try and rein it in of some sorts instead of trying to be active and aggressive. And my question was throughout, I was thinking, I was like, these kids, when they play against their age mates in South Africa, are very aggressive. That's why they make it into the side. Whereas now, you are asking them to do something slightly different, right? And I understand South Africa not being able to play for pace. I understand South Africa not being able to, play, or not to play spin. I beg your pardon. And so for me, that was the thing. It was rather let them be aggressive, even to spin, rather than necessarily make them play a different type of a game. And I think that's where Seletswani found himself and Tiga, right? Because obviously you're coming in, they've given you a great foundation. 50 overs seems very far, but you would need to try and get you. Because when they played in the Division 2 50 over tournament, they were a lot freer and they played
Yeah.
a slightly more assertive, not necessarily aggressive, but assertive. So look for the full ball. Don't be too aggressive. Not every ball needs to go to the boundary. And that's essentially what I was disappointed in, essentially, with the batters. Obviously, John James batting so deep, but I was happy that Steve Stolk and Luando Pretorius look like they're going to be playing for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Gwena Mapaka could effectively be sent to New Zealand tonight, and he can open the bowling and get his test cap already, because that kid's got something, and he just needs to obviously grow in his body and be able to play. I'm not saying he should be playing test cricket now, but in two years
But
is not a bad shot. I think we just
but
need to work on him bulking up a little bit more. Not yeah, just to survive the rigors of 5 day cricket, or 4 days,
yeah.
because you know how we play cricket in this world, test cricket in this world. So look, I'm happy. Well done to them. I didn't think they'd make it to the semi-finals after how they played against England, but they managed to pull it back. That West Indies game was unbelievable. And then obviously they're beating Scotland with like half the overs left. And then they just walked into the Super Sixes and dominated. And that team is great. And the gem is Gwena Mapaka, 22 wickets in this tournament. And yeah, look, Tim, as you said to me before, pace is pace is pace. And you saw the difference between Lisa and Mapaka and everybody else, couldn't come to the party. I would have actually bowled both of them out as much as I could. I would have tried to bowl them to 8 overs each and see if we couldn't have gotten into that lower order of India, and then figure out what I need to do with the other guys to kind of take the remaining wickets. So it was just sad and disappointing that it ended like that. But as nature with South African cricket, Tim, it always ends in tears.
It always ends in tears. But as I say, I did start off with a positive note.
Mm.
The three you mentioned, the two batters, opening batters, and Parker, for me, will definitely be playing first class cricket, and
And
Mo will
Devon.
go on, and Mo and Devon, and Mo will go on to play for the Proteas, particularly in Parker. There's no doubt in my mind that he will go on to play for the Proteas
That first
sooner rather
ball,
than
Tim.
you know. So
That
the
first
future is
ball.
bright. The future is bright.
Oh man, that first ball. Oh, that's how you set the tone. I just can't wait to see him and Kagiso bowl. If only the age gap wasn't 10 years, but it seemingly is. Um, Something beautiful happened yesterday. Something I wasn't expecting. I'm not sure many South African cricket fans were expecting. But for the first time ever in an ODI, so don't come at me and say they just beat Australia last month. Last month, when they beat them in the T20, was the first time they beat Australia in a T20 ever. Now, okay, not last month. Well, yeah, it was last month, because last month was January. Now we're in Feb. Now, in ODIs, in 17 ODIs, we've been catching L's and one draw, 16 L's and one draw. So that draw was kind of like the thing. But now, first time we've been in Australia. It's the second time Australia have lost in Australia. The Australian women's team, that is, right, in an ODI. That means all those Ashes situations that are going on are, yeah, England is just like us, passengers, essentially. That's what they're telling us. Ashes down under, England are just passengers in the ODI game. However, South Africa did something amazing. They beat Australia by just over 100 runs. It was a mammoth win, or it was just under 100 runs. It was a mammoth win for the Protea ladies. It was 86 runs, I beg your pardon. Incredible win. It was just a Marizan Cup show, and we scored 200 and we scored 230. Let me just get this right, so we do this properly, because I don't want to what is it make light of what just happened yesterday, right? So South Africa scored 229 for 6 in a rain-affected game. Marizan scored 75 of 87. Annika Bosch, 46 of 44. Tasman Brits, 21 of 41. Laura Wolfhard went out for a duck. And normally when that happens and Tasman only scoring 21, you kind of know, Tim, that you're getting to 180. But there was some rearguard action from Nadine de Klerk and Chloe Tryon to kind of get South Africa to 229. When they readjusted the scores, Australia needed 234 from 45, which is normal, which is okay. But then we started. Opening bowler, Marizan Cup, 3 for 12 or 5 overs. Then Masabata Class, who I think is underrated, didn't get any wickets, but went for 29 runs. And Klubi made her debut, or quick, from S under 19 last year. She scored 2 for 41, 2 wickets, 41 runs. Elise Marie Marks, also a newbie in the side, 2 for 22. Nadine de Klerk came through with 2 for 26, and Chloe Tryon 1 for 14. Tim, throughout the series, I was worried about the bowling. Truly worried about the bowling. But yesterday, we got a glimpse of life after Shubman, of a better life after Shubman. Hard call was made. Ayabonga Kaka was dropped for Ayanda Hlubi, and Ayanda Hlubi then came through and did the business. Similar to SA Under 19, there was a partnership there at the end between Garth and Gardner, but Marizan came back.
I was nervous. I thought they could actually do this. It's a matter photo, but they could actually do this. They were finding it so easy at one point, those two. Particularly Garth. I was worried.
Yo, so worried. But look, they came back. Marizan took who was it who took the wicket? It was Ellis Marie Marks who got the wicket of Ash Gardner, and after that it just fell into South Africa's hands as Chloe Tryon got the last wicket with an LBW. And it was a roller coaster second innings, but the bowlers carried. Normally when you get a total like that, especially against Australia, they'll roll their way down there. But those early wickets that they lost were key in arresting that momentum, right? And you had a situation where it was Australia were 3 for 34. Then they found themselves 5 for 58. The first wicket ever for Ayanda Hlubi was Elise Perry, and then she came back with a bold of Jojo Wareham, which I thought she was a game changer yesterday. And it bodes well. So massive historical feat, massive moment for the Proteas women. And just well done to Coach Hilton, well done to Captain Laura, because they've managed to get themselves into this situation, and they're winning, and they are now. I don't know how this women's thing works, right? Because it seems like there's a table and you get points for the entire series. Right,
it's
so
entire series.
If you win it,
it's exactly the same as the Ashes. It's exactly the same as the Ashes.
Yes, Tim.
It's 6-4 to Australia at the moment. It's 6-4 to Australia.
How many points do you get for the test?
If we win on Saturday, is it? If we win Saturday, it's 6-all. The test match is 4 points. The win.
Okay.
If you win it, you get 4 points. So regardless of what happens, even if we lose in the ODI, we can still draw the whole thing by winning the test match. We are still in it. We're still in it, even if we lose the ODI, which is a fantastic thing. And I know we're not going to be favourites by any stretch. But the point is, we're going to be in the competition in the last game of the series, which is what we want exactly. You want to put it for cricket.
And what I love about this team is that now they're incorporating the lesser known players or the younger players. Eliz Marie Marks, who's an all rounder, bats lower down the order. She bowls medium pace ish. She's a
Medium pace.
yes.
She's a medium pacer.
Yeah, and that's a that and she played really well yesterday. So to Nadine de Klerk, as well as Ayanda Hlubi. For me, Ayanda Hlubi's debut is monumental for the side because it gives you options, right? It gives you a whole lot of options in terms of fast bowling and trying to fill the gap that Shibnam left. It's a massive gap, and Ayanda is going to be a mainstay in the side, and she'll be doing. She's going to have a very long career from where we're at because she's just added a breath of fresh air and gave us a little bit more pace when normally sometimes Masabata class you'd be like, oh, it's not there yet. Marazan's throwing thunderbolts. Masabata is bowls a hard ball, but sometimes it can be a little bit easier for the batters. And Hlubi comes in with pace. And at least Perry first wicket, well done. You'll remember that for the rest of your life.
Indeed. My takeaways are basically what you finished up with there. There were a lot of people, a lot of the local commentary team saying, why are they not bringing back Marazan Cup? She just bowled her 5 overs. You want to win the game. You want to kill it off. I don't know the reasoning. We were not informed of any injury. I know that she did get injured, so she did have something wrong with her elbow. But we were not informed of any, that being the case, that's why she didn't bowl. So I'm going to give Hilton credit here for giving the situation to Hlubi, de Klerk and Marks. Between them, they bowled 15 overs, 5 for 62.
Yeah,
that's around about 4.5 an over.
Yeah,
That's won us the game. So that for me is the biggest takeaway from the match. You're saying to the new girls, it's your chance to take the shine. It's your chance to win the game, and they took it. So I think it's a huge plus for us, because we said for weeks now, our worries is the bowling. The slight worry for me, and I'm sure it'll come back, but I was told Hlubi was faster than this. I was told fast bowler.
Yes.
What she bowled was not fast. What she bowled was 105. Well, at least the speed gun said 105, 106.
That's not fast.
She bowled well. I liked her. She's got a nice action. I think she maybe potentially bowled within herself, but we need a fast bowler. If that's what her pace is, then that is going to be a slight concern. We need a fast bowler in that attack. But all credit to the ladies, all credit to the team. That is a huge win. A huge win. Doesn't matter what happens to the rest of the series. We've shown that to Australia we can compete. That's the most important thing for me. We've beaten them in 2 games across formats. That's a huge statement. And they were disappointed in that final T20. That was also a good thing for me. That the way they reacted, it was not like, well, we're happy to compete. They were visibly disappointed. So I like it. I like the attitude of the team. I like the way they're playing. And it's great to see. It really is.
I think if you offered Hilton 2 wins, one in the ODI and one in the T20, he'd take it, because I don't think he was expecting at least a win in the ODIs. I think he knew he could win a T20, but in the ODIs it's massive, and it's really, really amazing. So well done to the Proteas Women. We play again on Saturday. Hopefully we will be getting more beautiful things. Maybe level it up by the time we get to the test matches, and you just never know what might happen. So, okay. So let's move on to the other show, the one that was carrying on throughout the week from us. It was the first time a test match started on a Sunday. That I was like sitting there going, geez, the organizers are brave, thinking they'd get crowds on a Wednesday. But New Zealand seemingly had crowds on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's like those people don't work, Tim. It's weird.
No. So, I'm going to add some context. Tuesday was a holiday. That is why it happened.
Oh,
Tuesday.
so
So,
the
so we're going to
organizers
be there.
thought long weekend.
Exactly. Exactamundo.
Okay.
People were not going to
So
go into the Monday because Tuesday is a
there
holiday
was a public
anyway.
holiday.
So
Yeah.
they had good crowds. Very clever thinking,
Okay.
actually. Very clever.
Yeah. You kind of say, and I want stuff like that to South can do, right? To be like, oh, it's a long weekend. Tell everyone to book out Monday, and you'll be doing that. But anyway, wasn't a great performance for South Africa. We went into the test match with 6 debutants, and the rest of them were guys who hadn't played for the Proteas in a very long time. The guys who had played for the Proteas recently were only two of them. That was Keegan Peterson and David Bettingham. Everyone else was coming in either green or having not played a test in years for the Proteas. One of the key things about that was obviously South Africa lost by a whole lot of runs. So I'll give you the number here. They lost by 281 runs. Um, it was just the Kane Williamson, Rachin Ravindra show. They just had us. But I think, Tim, for me, thinking about this game after the fact, right, was obviously we're going to ask ourselves, where did it go wrong? How did it go wrong? And obviously you can say the one thing that we took off was there's a gulf between domestic cricket and test cricket, and it was very evident here. Guys who were there were bowling 130. Guys who were taking wickets regularly in domestic cricket were bowling 135. Guys who were taking wickets for New Zealand were bowling at 145. So that's the first one, right? From a batting perspective, you could say that they were nervous, but you could see some of the things that make some of our batters not be regulars in the side, and it was just glaring to see. And the adage of time reveals everything. It revealed a whole lot about this 11. I feel for Coach Shukri. He described it as Burnley going to Liverpool. And when you know that you're Burnley going to Liverpool, you're going to try and restrict the team as much as possible. They wanted to slow the game down as much as possible, which is why they didn't bat first when they won the toss. They wanted to use that with the ball. And to a certain extent, at the end of day one, he says he was happy about that. He was happy that um, the run rate wasn't far away, even though they only had taken 2 wickets. But obviously, in day two, New Zealand then put foot and they put South Africa to the sword. Um, the one thing for me, it'll always go down to team selection, but it's also, again, Shukri's doing this with his hand tied behind his back. He realizes the only way he can win was to have as many batters in there as possible and try to figure out if guys could bowl as well. Neil Brandt, Ron Swart, that type. And so he went in with 8 batters and three out and out bowlers, and then everyone else was bit part, let's fit in and let's see. And to a certain extent, it kind of killed him because that 520 from New Zealand effectively ended the game for them, and they were then on the back foot. But how did you see that game, and where do you think we went wrong?
I think the team selection, again, I agree with you. I can see why he went on that race, but I've seen so many teams go, you know what, we can't win. We're going to load up with batsmen and we're going to just eke it out. And there are very few occasions when that actually works out. In theory,
Yeah,
it should work out, but very
yeah.
few. The best way to win games or to stay in games is to get wickets. That is the best way to
Mm,
do it. So for me, I don't really care who they drop. I don't really care how it happens. Dane Pete has to play the second test. It absolutely, Dane Pete has got to play that second test. Look, I expected what we saw from the bowlers. I
mm-hmm.
did. We were worried about it.
Yeah.
So that's not that surprising. I think as a whole, as a unit, they kept it together and they tried their darnest. They really tried their darnest. And it was a combination of A, not quite being good enough anymore, and B, not being backed up by the fielders anymore,
Mm,
having an absolutely, I'm sorry, but anymore having a terrible test match on all fronts. And yeah, generally the fielding just did not back up what was very
But it was also
good
giving you a
bowling.
sense that it was more of like a domestic intensity that our guys had, and they needed to make that step up. South Africa tend to start games slowly, well, the A team, and then
Yeah.
they step up their intensity as they realize that actually no, it has to. That step up in intensity didn't happen, and you saw that with the drop catches and all of that. But to give them fair with about that second innings was much better. They were taking their
It,
catches. It looked better. It's just obviously
it,
New Zealand with New Zealand.
yeah. New Zealand were taking a few more chances, but yes, you're right. It did look a bit better. It looked a little bit more menacing. We created a few more chances. Maybe the ball did a little bit more. It's a different ball. Yes, you're right. It did. But the most concerning for me,
Yeah.
especially when you load it with the batters and you go right, grind it out, and
Mm-hmm.
see out the test match. They did the opposite. They did the opposite. We we had 8 starts, 8 guys getting over 22 with 150. When you've got people with enormous experience, you've got Proteas experience. When you've got Hamza, Keegan, and Bediam, and to be fair, Shukri said it at the press conference, not the press conference, the press thing that came out today, I think, or
Yeah.
yesterday.
It came out
Um,
today.
he said he expected more from them. And he's right. He's right. They are the most
Yes.
experienced. Two of them, or actually no, all three of them have played for the Proteas before. They know their games inside out. And I think he's right. All of them, all of them got in at least once. Actually, in terms of Hamza, he got in twice. Bediam got in
Hmm.
twice. Two of the three got in twice and didn't capitalize. So you know, there was a lot of blame there. You would expect it, particularly on that wicket where,
Hmm.
apart from Jamison, it was not a threatening attack. It was a decent attack, but when you look at before the wickets, those three did not really have much trouble with the
Hmm.
bowling attack, but they tended to give their wickets away. The fashion with what happened and the giving of the wickets away was a real disappointment. And he's right. Shukri says, I think what he's thinking here is
Hmm.
a lot of those shots are that's going through slips for four, that's going over points head for four. Bediam's pull shot on 87, that's going for six. That kind of thing in domestic cricket is happening. Test cricket, when it's that little bit quicker, when it's
It
that
goes
little
to
bit more
hand.
intense, it goes to hand. And that's
Yeah.
it.
And I think for me that was the observation here. It was guys were being very uncharacteristic in the way they were batting. Guys were taking a lot more risks unnecessarily. I don't know why. Especially when the message is coming out that we're looking for a draw. We're looking to take this game in deep. So and I don't think Shukri told them to bat with a high strike rate. I'm sure he said, don't get bogged down, rotate the strike, protect your wicket, and take the game as deep as possible. Even if you're going at 2 runs and over for 100 overs, we don't care. We just need to take time out the game, right? And then we'll decide on Friday or on the fifth day. And then if it works, it will work. And I think, he rightfully called out King Peterson, Hamza, and Bedingham. But obviously felt Bedingham was harsh because that second innings was good. Obviously disappointing not for him to get to the 100. But he showed glimpses of why I'd give him an extra run on the side, Tim. So well done on that call. Um, but Zubair and Keegan questioning that. Also Neil Brunt and Renat Fantonda, as well as Eddie Moore. They just look like deer in headlights when they're batting. I get maybe Neil with the bowling. He didn't expect to bowl that many overs. But my worry with this team is outside of those three that Shukri named, I can't put money on anybody else. And to a certain extent, I was expecting someone to put their hand up. I know Ruan Deswat put his hand up with the ball. He also got a start with the bat, just couldn't capitalize. And yeah, look, I think remember when he played Bangladesh in PE and in where was it? Was it Durban or something in that series, that test series, where all the players went to IPL and they were playing with Rickleton and the
Oh yes,
Harmers, and
yes, yes.
we had a Harmer and a Keshav situation. I'm okay with that, eh? I'm okay going on with two quicks, Moreki, Dane Patterson, and having Pete and Sean von Berg, and say this is how we're going to end up playing this game going forward. Yeah, and this is how we're going to win this game. And if they tonk us for 700, they tonk us for 700. But I trust these two as my wicket takers because if I look at the bowling line, if I look at our bowling lineup, right, Ruan Deswat, Mihlali Mpongwana, who I'd give a go. I would. If you're gonna persist with three quicks, Mihlali's the third quick, and he's batting at number 9 as a guy who scored 100 in first class cricket, but as a quick bowler, as a seamer, right? Mihlali, Moreki, I'd pick those two any day. Dane Patterson, I'd pick him because he can swing the ball up front, but after that, it's done. And then I've got Dane and Sean van Berg. And I'm looking at this bowling, and I'm like, my best chances of taking 20 wickets is with those two because I can spin a web like with New Zealand. And we saw that with Rachin Ravinder. We saw that with Mitchell Santner. And I would have done that. I would have gone that way. So to a certain extent, he didn't go all the way conservative. And I would have gone that drastic to be like, well, drastic times call for drastic measures. I'm going with my spin twins. My guys have taken the most wickets out of anybody in this team in domestic cricket ever, right? Duan is finished, guys. Sorry. I don't
Yeah,
like saying players are finished. He's done. I'm sorry. I can't in all good conscience warrant like unless if he decides to in the next couple of days take him back to his old self, the 150 self. I don't know easy that would be, but that's the Duan we actually thought we were going to get. But it's the Duan that we got at the Lions, who somehow got wickets bowling and 130, and it's sad. It really is sad, and the fact that we're here is even worse because we can't bring guys in now, and we've got to play with what we have. And so I hope Shukri goes all the way. And I think that's my next question to you, Tim, is what changes would you make?
so I would agree with your makeup. I'm not sure I would play Glali. I
Okay.
really, I mean, that's a, um, so I was thinking more of the one spinner, but actually, you're actually right. If you go with the two spinners, guys that know the game very well, um, I just hope that we get a similar wicket. If we get a similar wicket, play the two spinners would make perfect sense. If we get a green seamer, perhaps not. That's my only worry in terms of that. But yes, I'm not changing my top seven. My top seven is my top seven, and that's it. You know, they've got to start going. You know what? We want to show Tembo and Aiden that actually we're right there. This is the chance.
Yes.
We are right there. We are on your shoulder, and we are available. The only way you're going to do that is score three figures. That's the only way you're going to do it. 30s and 40s are not going to crack it. They're just not.
Yeah.
Three figures is going to crack it. Um, so I'm actually leaning towards your thinking to playing the two spinners. Um, I'm just not. I'm I'm not sold on. Maybe, but I'm not quite sold on Garley being my number three pacer. But at the same
Okay.
stage, but at the same stage, if it's between him and Tuan, I'm picking him.
That's
I'm,
what I'm
I'm,
saying, right? If
I'm
you're gonna
sorry,
pick,
but yeah,
yeah,
that's
like
that's unfortunate.
it was disappointing because we thought maybe our bowlers could at least be competent, right? That they stack up at least. Tipa Mareki taking a ball in the first ball, taking a wicket in the first ball of his international career, that was amazing. But he even is limited from a pace perspective, and if you put him and Lazard, who are, you could say, in the same pace bracket. Actually, no, Lazard's actually a little bit more pacier. But
Lazard's
to the
quicker.
eye, you'd be like, but like there's a gulf between Lazard
Well,
and him. And
look,
Lazard sat here with us and told us he's far away from the guys who are currently playing and who are currently the 8 test guys, right? So I
if
like
I tell you
I'm
what, I
sitting there
tell you,
going, we know we have limitations, but at least try. And Mariki and Dane Patterson tried. This oak just didn't.
yeah, yeah. I tell
He
you what,
even
we
wanted
live
to
it
see
up.
if he can't go back to his old ways and increase his pace. Because when you're under pressure, you tend to go back to what you normally do, right? And so if I don't know what happened in England, but they
Well,
really
well,
they really
he's
took it
he.
out of him.
I think it was just prior to this tour. Prior to this tour, he talked about coming back. Talked about how happy he was to be back, and he was very frank. I think it was on the Supersport clip,
Mm.
and he was very frank. And I think he's actually spot on. He said, actually, things have not been right for me for 2 years. He said there are lots of reasons. I've had lots of niggles that just won't go away. I
Mm.
think there were. I think it was knee and hip. I think, and they just wouldn't go away. So he said I'd come back for three games, then I'd be out. Come back for one,
Yeah.
then I'd be out. Be constant. So he said, so I haven't actually been at 100% for 2 seasons. Um, so the fact that he's getting those wickets in our domestic setup, despite that, tells you everything. I don't think that pace can come back. He's 31 now.
Mm.
I don't. I don't think that pace can come back. I'd love to be proven wrong. He plays the second test and he gets that pace back, but I just don't see it happening. I'll tell you what would lift it up if Jamison got injured. Because they spoke to Bellingham about his innings. I didn't agree with everything he said, but what he did say was there was a marked difference between their pace bowlers and Jamison. He said
Yeah.
that was a difference, and that's what we're
And
missing. We're missing that difference in our bowling attack. That's
oh,
the problem.
that we're also missing that difference in our batting lineup to be able to have the know-how to play Jamison differently and then attack everyone else. And that's what this New Zealand team was. When we looked at the World Test Championship, when it came out last year, I looked at New Zealand and I was like, this is an easy 2-0 before we knew what was going on with SA20.
Yeah,
It was an easy one because their paces are aging, that batting lineup is aging, they're not bringing in youngsters. And you can tell him about Rachin Ravindra. He was in the wilderness for the past 3 years. He came into the world as a spinner. And now all of a sudden he's picking up his batting, which is great for him. But he's been in the system for a very long time. They don't have youngsters coming in. They're repurposing T20 guys, right? And Glenn Phillips, this is who I'm talking
yeah.
about Daryl Mitchell. And Tim Southee is God knows how old. I think James Anderson is the only one who's older than him in world cricket, and he's still there, and he's captaining the side. And so I looked at this and I was like, it's an opportunity to blow them out. And then on top of that, to just be on top of them and score runs. And it's the best place in the world to score runs because after the new ball is done, it just flat as a pancake. And it was funny when Shukri was saying that no, they thought there'd be something in the pitch later on with the new ball getting a little bit. So no, there wasn't going to be. We've been to New Zealand many times before. The ball after it's hard and it's soft, that's really nice to bat. And I just was like, you missed the trick, dude. Out and out spinner, at least have one. That's my only
Yeah.
question, right? And in my head, I love Dane Pete, but give Sean von Berger a debut. Like
Well, look,
honestly, folks, like dude, what must the guy do? They took him to bloody Sri Lanka. They played to Bray
well,
Shamsi, fine. I get it. I understand that,
yeah.
right? Shamsi then goes home because his father passes away. They're bringing a Quig in Sri Lanka, of all places. And then Sean must carry drinks. Nah, fam. No, no, no,
No,
no.
it made no sense. It made no sense.
Uh-uh.
But look,
So
yeah, look,
I say
Neil
give
Brunt.
Sean and Dane another chance.
Yeah, just to put it in context, Neil Brunt bowled 40 overs, 39.4, so 40 overs. New Zealand bowled 72. New Zealand bowled 72 overs of spin.
Yeah.
72. We
And
we batted for 150 overs. So half
Half
of their overs was
was
spin.
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 Yeah.
In the entire match.
And the thing is, Ron de Swart is an actual he. So the thing with me with Ron de Swart, and I'd like to see more of him in more elevated cricket above domestic cricket, because I kind of feel in domestic cricket he's well, he's one of the top all rounders in the country, but
We, yeah.
it's it's
We
it's
need.
flaky.
Yeah. Yeah. We need more
But
A cricket. We need more A cricket. That's what we
and
need.
but the thing is, he's the one kid who was like he was the one guy, not kid, but he's younger than me, but I respectfully, who I felt had the ingredients of being a really good international cricketer, and with bat and ball. And I know everyone talks Marco Jansen, but essentially, you'd be wanting who is it? What's his face? You'd be wanting Ruan de Swart to come in, because I trust Ruan a little bit with the bat a little bit more. I know he threw his wicket away in both games, in both innings. But for me, Ruan de Swart is one of those guys who I feel could give you that guy who bats in the top 6/7 and can bowl as a first change bowler, right?
Yeah.
Bowls a little bit of a heavy ball, can cause problems. He's very accurate with it. And I liked it. Obviously, in South Africa, our first change bowler bowls 140 kilometers per hour, and he's like 7 foot tall, and he's Marco Jansen, and he's a giant, and he does amazing things. But in the world where Marco gets injured, who do you look to? And I think Ruan de Swart gave us something. And the problem with him is consistency. So we needed to be a little bit more consistent. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, there's something you can work with if you're a coach. So really, really happy for him, I think. I thought he did quite well. And so
And,
in my
and
team,
yeah. And he
yes.
showed it in that second innings. He showed that with the bat. He said he
Yeah.
showed a maturity while everybody else was throwing their wickets away and hooking everything that was in the middle of the wicket, going crazy. He said, "No, I want it not out," and he got it.
Yeah.
So no, that's a
34,
maturity.
not
He
out.
just
Yeah.
went about his business nice and quietly. Um, yeah, look, we talk about all rounders all the time, but he's certainly right up there with the guys that we talk about all the time. We don't talk about Rowan enough, but he's certainly good enough for that debate. Certainly.
Yeah, so yeah, look, I think it was one of the positives that I saw. And so, like, if you're going forward, I think you take Deswat, you take Moreki, you take Dane Patterson, and then you take you drop to one, you bring in one spinner, and then you drop another batter. I don't know who you're going to drop. I would say Reinhard van Tonde, bring Keegan Peterson back up to 3 and give him the responsibility to score runs. Because this thing of putting Keegan at 6 doesn't make sense. It doesn't suit his game. And I think this is the last chance for Keegan. And I know we've been moving him up 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. Say if you can't make it as a 3 in this team, you're not going anywhere, because I don't think Keegan has a future at 6 or 5. I think David Beddingham's now surpassed him in the pecking order, and you just make him bat at 3. There is an opening. If you push up Tony DeZorzi in the national side, you can slot in Keegan there, but he's fighting with Zubair Hamza. So figure out a way to give guys a chance, or you make Zubair bat at 3. One of them needs to bat at 3. And David needs to bat at 4, and then the other one needs to bat at 5. And then you have your power packed middle order after Brunt and Eddie Moore. And I know everyone likes Reinhard van Tonde, but he's not there yet, guys. I'm sorry.
No, he's not.
I didn't see his selection. I didn't understand why they picked him over Joshua Richards. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing the fruits of what's happening. And I think he needs a full season at Northwest. And I think let's see in the next couple of years, but he's not there. He's talented.
Time is on his side. That's the important thing. No, you're
Yeah.
right. Look, if we're picking a squad of 15, he's not making it. That's with all the bells and whistles, he's not making it.
And I think for me, the sad part about all of this is that no one in that. I think Rwanda Swat kind of saw that, and maybe Tsepo Moreki, but I think talent wise, they're not there yet. But the idea that somebody was going to rise up, that there was going to be a gem that was going to announce themselves on some, I'm not leaving, and nobody gave us that option, and it's really sad because it's like we're going to get a hiding in the second test if nothing changes. And that's why if we're already going to get a hiding, rather get a hiding with two spinners and let Sean van Berg and Dane Pete have a game. And you give and I wouldn't mind giving Sean Berg a sentimental cap. I really wouldn't mind. He deserves it. Man's been in domestic cricket for yonks, for years, for decades. And and the funny thing is, obviously, the Paul Royals got knocked out yesterday. I know we'll talk about SA20 thingy. Just send David Miller to New Zealand. If you were thinking, if you wanted to make one of the most sentimental picks in the history of the world, then David Miller gets a test cap. Finally.
Yo, dude, that would be wild. Honestly, that would be absolutely wild. That's not
No.
of all the permutations that we have discussed prior to the series, during the series, right now. That's not one I ever thought of.
We're giving caps
Not a bad
away.
idea. It's not a bad
Reynard
idea.
van Tonde is a test player. Eddie Moore is a test player. But David Miller will
It's
never
not a
see
bad
a test
idea.
cap? No,
Yeah.
guys. No, man. Look,
Yo,
yeah,
that would be
score him,
hectic.
get him on a plane, make it happen, and then play Sean van Berg, and then we're done, right? We've given out the sentimental caps, right? Another one, but obviously he's still playing in SA20. Is if the Joburg Super Kings were eliminated, you would have called Louis Deploy and said, "Dude, there's a chance for you to bat at 3 for the Proteas for the rest of your career, if you want to let go of this England fancy that you're thinking you're going to make it into. If you go to Oratamba tonight and get on a plane, a Qantas plane to Australia, and then we'll find you there and we'll send you over to New Zealand." Because Les Deploy is in the form of his life.
Look, this I have been told several times.
That's not happening.
This is not. This is a non-starter.
But the test cap is there. Literally, he gets off the plane, he walks into the side.
I know that, and I agree with it. I agree with the sentiment. If I was Gavina selectors or Shukri's right-hand man, I would be doing that. I would be getting on the phone. I would be getting on my knees and going, please, please, we desperately need you. We're sorry for whatever we did. I don't know what we did, but sorry for whatever we did. Please come back. But as I said, I've been told this is a non-starter. It's not even worth discussing until, of course, it changes, like it did with Birmingham, like it did with Simon Harmer, like like we've been down this road before.
Yeah,
I literally have been told, while both those guys had the door slightly ajar, Luz has it shut, bolted, and all the other pieces of security across it. Yeah, there's no.
Okay,
no
cool. Tim, let's end it there. With one last thing is Test match 2. Who will be the standout players for South Africa?
Okay, so I think it's gonna be Sean. Sean's gonna play. I'm gonna go with you. Sean's gonna play. Sean's gonna get 5 wickets in the first innings.
Okay.
And actually, I've been quietly surprised. I mean, I'm frustrated as hell with the dismissals, but I'm far quietly surprised by Hamza. And I did not actually think that he would be able to cope. I didn't actually think he would get the starts that he got, which makes the way he got out so frustrating. So yeah, I'm predicting runs from him. I'm predicting runs from Hamza, at wickets for Sean.
I think I'd go with you on that. I think, but I'm predicting a runs from Neil Brunt. He doesn't go 2 games without scoring something, so I think he's going to score big. Zubair is weird because he, like, for the Lions, he's managed to get up past 30, but in that August September period, he was just getting to 30 and getting out, and you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? India A, he did the exact same thing. Got to 30, he looked very good. He's like, if you watch him live, it's the most beautiful cover drive you could ever see. The man's got soft hands, he's got lovely touch, but yeah, he's the wish version of Aiden Markram, because Aiden's like got all the shots in the book and he looks pretty. Zubair looks amazing, but he's not as talented as Aiden, but he gets himself out very easily as well. So we just don't
Yeah.
want him to throw his wickets away. My answer is whichever spinner they pick is going to be the one who performs well. And I think Ron Deswat might have another situation, because with him and with I don't think so. The thing was, obviously in that game, was we're bowling slightly shorter than New Zealand, and I hope that in the week to adjust. I know Tipum Mareki will adjust. Ruan Deswat needs to adjust. Dane Patterson is Dane Patterson. He gets wickets the way he gets wickets. If those two adjust, we're in the game. And so I'm hoping that he comes good in the lower middle order. I know Betters will score runs, but I think there's runs for Neil Brandt for us there at the top of the order, and we might be 200 for 2 batting first.
That
and
would be lovely.
and we'd have New Zealand in a hole, and you have Branty and Hamza batting, and you've got Betters coming in after that. We that's what you want, right? That's essentially what you want, and you just want a little bit more maturity. So I think let's leave it there. I think good luck to the Proteas in New Zealand. Good luck.
The only thing I'll add,
Yes. Mhm.
is when this comes out, the last place for the final of SA20 will be on. So turn this on while watching the cricket on mute. It'll make a perfect combination.
Yes, most definitely. We'll definitely be able. Actually, we'll put it up slightly before the SA20, but you'll be able to get it then. But yeah, I'm going there tonight. So you're standing between me and a semi-final, the second semi-final, because I'm thinking DSG is losing. I don't know about you.
I think so too. I think no, you're right. Momentum is with JSK. The only thing is I would, if they could get Madsen into the 11, I would do it.
Yeah, they need to find a way to get him in.
I thought it might work against them against Paul. Paul was so poor at the moment, it didn't. But find a way to get him in, and I think it's a shoe-in.
Yeah. Okay, Tim. Well, thank you very much. Good luck to the Proteas women. Good luck to the guys playing SA20 later today. And good luck to the Proteas in New Zealand. The next test match starts in a couple of days. So, yeah, hoping for changed fortunes. No one's coming to save you, or no one's coming to save us. No one's getting on planes to come. So yeah, this is your moment to make a mark in this over 100-year-old game, the longest format of the game, the one you've always dreamt of playing. And that's all we want, right? We want you guys to enjoy this thing and make memories out of it. Think of Saro Arvia. Made his debut in New Zealand, scored 100 in his debut series, and no one could ever take that away from him. So it's those things, and to a certain extent, if I was Shukri, I'd be like, guys, that's what you need to do. Try and make memories. Try do something that the world will remember you by. And I think that's the best note to let it go. Tim, thank you very much. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday, probably talking in the middle of the second test match and how the SA20 unfolded in Newlands on Saturday. Outside of that, it's goodbye and lesale kakahiso.